daughters and sorors, the imperator of the Rosicrucian Order, AMORC.
Frequently, some members in the higher degrees are discouraged. They admit readily that they have received what has been promised them and that the order has been faithful in its obligations. Furthermore, they have conscientiously studied the teachings, yet they have not made, in their opinion, the advancement which they believe they should have made. When they direct questions to us about advancement, we ask them in reply, advancement toward what? They usually answer, spiritual attainment. Then again, they sometimes state that they fear that they have not advanced because of being unable to accomplish all the things about which they have studied in their monographs. We believe that, in most instances, they are discouraged because of this last-named reason. Their personal accomplishments do not exactly correspond to what is outlined as achievements in the monographs. We, of course, realize that when we study and read, we are functioning objectively. We are using our objective consciousness. When we study, we almost always derive immediately from the text, that is, the pages of the monograph, ideas corresponding to those which the class master or instructor had in mind. In other words, as we read each page, we have an understanding of what the class master is intending to convey to us. All of this, primarily, is an objective process. But something more must be done. The ideas which we have derived through the medium of the printed page must be transformed into action. If something more is to result in merely ideation or concepts within our consciousness. The thoughts must, for example, stimulate certain psychic centers by which channels are opened for communion with the cosmic or for the direction of the psychic forces within us. These psychic functions are not accomplished immediately or as one comprehends the meaning of the words in the monograph. By reading a monograph carefully, you may grasp the full content of the ideas which originated in the mind of the class master or his explanation of certain doctrines. But that is only half the process. We have been given in the Rosicrucian monographs techniques for attaining cosmic consciousness or attuning ourselves with the universal cosmic mind. Such have been outlined point by point, and each point has been made as simple as possible. We are certain that almost every member readily understands them. After the completion of the study of these principles, were the members able to quickly attain the state of consciousness as they were to comprehend it? To that, the answer would be most certainly not, because the technique in practice must be gradually developed. Do you remember the first time that you learned to drive an automobile? Your instructor, in a very short time, was able to acquaint you with the location of the mechanism and to tell you just what was necessary. You learned how you must depress the clutch pedal before shifting gears, how to brake the car, and about your starter, ignition, and similar operations. But it was a considerable time before such instructions, which were in your objective consciousness, became subjective, that is, habitual enough, so that you were able to drive with your mind free of concern for such details. And so it is, brothers and sorors, with the instructions in the monographs. They must be translated, or shall we say, transformed, into subjective action. The instructions must be converted into certain stimuli for bringing about a development of faculties or awakening latent forces within us. In this, the factor of time enters. It must be also realized that the manifestations, which are stated as being caused by exercises that the member is to perform, do not always follow exactly for every individual. There are a variety of manifestations that can follow from certain exercises. Every cause, it is true, produces a related effect, but such effects may vary slightly. In delineating what we expect to follow from an exercise given to the member, we are conforming to the law of averages. In any given number of members who are performing a certain exercise, using particular laws or principles, the majority of them will have almost a uniform result. It is this result that we mentioned in the monographs. But likewise, in that group, there will be some who have other manifestations, which are quite different, and yet are the result of doing the same exercises. Let us consider, for example, members who try the laws and principles which have been given them concerning the projection of consciousness. Now, these laws border on other phenomena besides projection, because all the cosmic laws are interwoven. Sometimes these members have had no success with projection, either in projecting their consciousness or in receiving the projected selves of others. They believe they are failures, regardless of what else may occur as a result of the exercises they have performed. They do not realize that conscientious application of those exercises nevertheless stimulates the creative powers within them. It quickens the inner consciousness and lessens the barrier between the object of consciousness and the inner self. Members who have failed in producing the exact results outlined in the monographs and who consider themselves as having made no advancement are at the same time forced to admit that since they have conducted such exercises, their health may have improved. They also will have noted a flow of creative ideas, a sense of poise and mental discipline, and perhaps greater mental vision. They disregard all these things only because they sought one specific manifestation. They have really made progress, but they are measuring advancement by a single standard. Now, we are all on different planes of consciousness. That is, we have evolved to different states of psychic perception and development of self. We did not start this incarnation alike. I do not mean in point of time, but in point of personal expression of soul. Some are already more advanced than others. Consequently, when those who are more advanced begin their Rosicrucian studies, they find it easier to get results from the teachings, and they are able to demonstrate more complex principles than are others. Let us say, for instance, that some members start this incarnation on the 5th step in their ascent of the cosmic stairway, while others begin on the 15th step. If each moves 5 steps upward during this lifetime, this particular incarnation then, when transition occurs at the end of this life, each will have progressed, and yet they will continue to be apart from each other. At transition, the one who began on the 5th step will have moved up to the 10th. The one who began on the 15th step will have moved up to the 20th. Most certainly it would be wrong for the one on the 10th step to say that he has failed because he is not as high as the one on the 20th step. He must look back and realize the progress he has made from the 5th to the 10th. To note a change in our life, the result of our Rosicrucian studies, we must review the whole period of our affiliation with the order, not any one degree or any particular set of exercises which are assigned to us. No Rosicrucian member can honestly say, after any length of time of conscientious study of the teachings, that he has not gained either spiritually and intellectually or physically from them. Each life we live is like a rung, but no one knows how long the ladder of incarnation is. To the cosmic, a single incarnation is but a tick of the clock of eternity. To the cosmic, it is unimportant whether or not our full development of self is acquired now. Each life is bound to contribute something to that ultimate achievement. It is sufficient that we are conscientious. We must not feel that all the objectives outlined in the teachings of the order must be crowded into the span of this incarnation.